to fraud or not to fraud? That is the question. That is the question everybody is out there asking about Zonic, right? And so, where are we at with that? Right. Zonic has won the most majors of any coach. He had his 4 with Astralis, he had 1 with Vitality, and also a period of sustained success with Astralis, the likes of which we've rarely seen. And so, as a result of that, he's been very often considered the GOAT coach, the greatest of all time. I've said that. I even said that as recently as in winning his 5th major with Vitality. Now, the Vitality win wasn't particularly good. It was on home soil with a crowd that were doing crowd things. It was the weakest playoffs ever in a major. Vitality's run was actually kind of embarrassing. If you're new to the game, I'm happy to remind everybody about what the playoffs in Paris looked like. This was Vitality's playoff run. They beat Into the Breach, they beat Apex, and they beat Gamer Legion. And if memory serves me correctly, don't think any of those were in the top 30 in the world at the time they made it to the playoffs in the major. Reddit, of course, said, actually, these are the new tier 1 teams. Everyone else is a moron. And all the boomer pundits that say this is actually an embarrassing run to win a major, they just haven't kept up with the game. Now, Into the Breach, the CEO basically drank their organization to death. You can watch my YouTube video called Out of the Breach into the Bin, I think it is. Apex, you can have a look at the roster if you want. Nork and Jacob and Steeko and JL and Kixon. And what happened to all of them? Oh yeah, they all got fucking picked apart, didn't they? They all got picked by other orgs. Why did that happen? Oh yeah, because Apex isn't a tier 1 organization. It can't hold on to its talent. Gamer Legion have somehow managed to buck the trend and rebuild and be relevant again. But not before they lost Shuhei. Not before they lost Isak, most famously Imma, right? But apparently they were the new tier 1. And we were all morons for not seeing it. But anyway, that playoff run for me, I mean, well done. If nobody would have batted an eyelid about this, if that had been their route to qualify through the RMR. In fact, if they dropped a single map, you would have gone, ooh, Vitality, you're looking a bit shaky. It's one of the weakest playoff runs of all time. Simple as that. But you know what? They had to get there, of course. So, majors aren't easy. You can see. They had to beat G2. They had to beat Ents. They had to beat Monty. So, you can see they played the very best that the scene had to offer. Great major. And they got to lift that trophy that was the size of a butt plug. The size and shape of a butt plug. So it was good times. Now, Zonic won his 5th major. And that was that, right? It was all decided. He's the greatest coach. So, after winning that major, they went on and had an era, right? Oh, no, they didn't. Vitality didn't win another trophy under Zonic. But that's fine, because he got to join Falcons. And he said, I'm not here for the money. I'm here because the project excites me. And I'm going to win things. And so he started 2024. And you can see, 9th to 12th in the groups, losing to his old Team Vitality. Katowice 2024. Semi-finals, losing Spirit. Guess that shit happens. In the last bracket at ESL Pro League. That was especially horrendous, actually. Worth highlighting. This was their lineup. It was the Ents core, plus Dupree and Magisk. Very bad. They beat Tyloo. Dropped a map. 2-0'd by BetBoom. Knocked out by G2. But it's okay, right? Because obviously we can see they're moving forward with all the placements that they got. Now, what ended up happening was they started doing so bad, there was a realistic chance they weren't going to get invited to other events in the future. Then, nearly forgot, cut their statistically best player to try simple for a couple of events, this being one of them. You'll see they finished rock bottom in a group, having lost 2-0 to 3D Max, 2-0 to Virtus Pro. Nearly forgot about that detail. This was another tournament they played with simple. Finished bottom in the groups again. Lost to Saw. Lost to Eternal Fire. The RMR played that with simple. We all know how that ended. And then going into 2025, yes, that was indeed. They decided to just pick up the heroic core. Just scratch it. This deal of Tezes, Kixan, and Degster, these three players from Heroic, many people believe they didn't even get the best lineup you could have had if you were buying three players from Heroic, because they left out Nerds and everything, and Shush. This was millions and millions, and it was done at the last minute, and in just blind panic, so they could just get an invite to these tournaments. And since then, they didn't win any of them. They got runner-up at Cluj. Reminder, at Cluj, the highest-ranked teams above them were Mousephase and Mongols. They did shit at Pro League. Reminder, Vitality, Spirit, G2, Na'Vi, these teams are in attendance. You can see their results here. Lost to Mouse, lost to 3D Max again, lost to Eternal Fire again. But then they won PGL Bucharest, right? So they've won it. So he's won a trophy. And again, reminder, they were the 5th team at this event, but it was G2, Mongols, FaZe, and Aurora because of all the political fuckery that's going on. But they won a trophy. So everyone says Zonic is now not a fraud, right? That's where we're at. So an entire year of failure with millions spent, 2 lineups, 2 cores, taking a loan of the greatest player of all time, who may or may not be washed at this moment. We don't know. Zonic couldn't get any of that going. Couldn't win a trophy with any of that, with all of those resources. But he won PGL Bucharest, and they've spent about $10 million to get there. I'm now supposed to say he's not a fraud. But let me tell you, sometimes language is, it's insufficient for what you want to communicate. And the word fraud was never accurate for Zonic. The word fraud was never accurate. Is he fraudulent? No. I'm sure he's forgotten more about Counter-Strike than I've ever known or will ever know. Right? I'm sure he was at one point the greatest coach of all time. What he is complacent. There is no excuse for not being able to deliver, not even a trophy, just a run of competitiveness, just a run of going deep in playoffs, just a run of semis and quarters and the occasional final. You don't even have to win them. Just show me you're in the mix. But Zonic, with 2 separate lineups, didn't take Falcons forward. They went backwards. And apparently you can't blame Zonic for any of that. Can't blame Zonic, can't blame the performance coach. You can only blame the players that get cut. No one else. And that's ridiculous. A year without a trophy for a coach is bad. If he'd played for any other organization other than Falcons, he'd have been fired. Right? There's only 2 coaches in the game that get away with this. One's Zonic, the other's Xtaz. And now, Vitality, the best team ever. So, whatever. That's what everyone's saying. We love them. They're great. They've signed Rops now, so they just win everything. And that's that. It's ridiculous to say Zonic hasn't failed at Falcons. It's ridiculous. Again, on its face, it's ridiculous. It's a stupid thing to say. He absolutely has by any conceivable metric. And then that would be true if he had no money to spend, let alone all of the money that they've spent, multiple lineups, etc., opportunities to work with any player you want. And now we have to pretend that he's finally won PGL Bucharest, and it's took him 16 months to lift that trophy, 16 months and millions of dollars. He's back. But here's the other problem with Zonic. It's not that I think he's fraudulent just on performance, right? Because, look, maybe it's harder to win trophies than I could ever know. Maybe it's really tough. Maybe it's tough at Falcons where I can literally just say to anyone, hey, can we sign Device? Can we sign Donk? Can we get Kyusuke? Can we get, must be tough. Must be tough to just do that. I'm going to tell you about the guy that has talked out of his arse ever since he got to Falcons. He's talked utter bullshit the entire fucking time. It's been ridiculous. I'm going to try and do these in order. Let's start with what he did, right? The promise he made when he first joined, when he was coming in, and he said, everyone's going to get a chance under me, okay? He said that. What ended up happening? He went to that team. Did everybody get a chance? No, they didn't. They benched 4 of the players and they kept Boros. And by the way, these players were never up to the task or would never meet the ambitions of what Falcons wanted to achieve. MHL, Lonks, Body, NBK. But they were promised one thing and they got another. You can even see here as early on, right, how they were linked with Snappy and had a verbal agreement, and Munacy was linked to them. They were just out there tapping up everyone. Any player Zonic wanted. So this lineup got benched, by the way, spoiler, to meet contractual obligations, if memory serves me correctly. They had to ask some of these players to come back and play. They kept Boros. I'll just tell you, they kept Boros, not because Zonic wanted Boros, not because the players they brought in, mates, etc., wanted to play with Boros. No one's excited to play with Boros. Boros is a difficult player to play with. He might have prodigious talent, but he's not got the capacity or the wherewithal to be a pro player. But the organisation were like, he is an Arabic-speaking player. It would be really good for the region to have him on the roster and do well. So will you give him a chance? Will you give him a real chance, unlike the fake chance you gave to all of these other players? And Zonic went, yes, of course I would. Meanwhile, him and all the other players were conspiring to fuck him out of his position as soon as he fucked up, which he was guaranteed to do, because we're talking about Boros. That's kind of a little bit fucking snaky. That's not great coaching. By the way, that did happen, didn't it? They put that documentary out. Let's play it. Let's watch it back. Let's take that trip down memory lane. Let's watch the GOAT coach in action. A leader of men. A good spiritual and moral coach. You know, Zipnix of Dupree said he's always good at galvanizing the troops, right? You're not allowed any other narrative.
To be fair, but a lot of circumstances did what we didn't. And normally I'm not focusing on individual performance because we can all have a shit game. But I also think a lot of it started before the game. And I have to point my finger at you. Changing mouse when you had a tournament where you played really well, it's a risky move, in my opinion. I don't know if it's the same mouse or if it's a new mouse. Forgetting your in-ears, for me, you're totally gone mode. And you're sitting on fucking NVIDIA and changing in the middle of the game. It's fine to have a bad game. But there's just so many circumstances that fucks it up before the game. And the reason I'm getting angry because I know you're fucking better than that. You showed such improvement, but we fucking need you. And I don't want all this disturbance. If we're losing to a better opponent. I don't know when to take it up because we also have an important tournament, but I feel it's fucking necessary. We need to fucking show up and be there. And if there is issues, talk to us. If there is, like with your PC, people can help you set it up. But it's fucking risky changing your mouse. There's no way.
Point is, my weakness is my aim. Your weakness, your strength is your aim. At the fucking Katowice, you had the most insane aim.
So good.
Some of the most insane aim I've seen. Don't change your mouse before the RMR and whiff because of it.
This thing with changing mouse, it also tilts me. Like, I see you, bro. Like, I'm in off angle, secret. Memil spotted them crossing secret. And you're whiffing 20 bullets on a guy jumping around. Like, I never seen you whiffing, and this is probably because of your changing mouse and settings and watching donk settings, and it just makes you feel uncomfortable. Stick with your settings. You are hitting insane, bro. Like, I know that Mo would never miss this guy 20 bullets in the back.
What happens next, by the way, because I remember this clip, because obviously I watched all the drama the first time. Made just goes, you know, there's too many distractions. I just know if I'm going out of an RMR, I don't want it to be because you changed the fucking mouse. Now, anyway, just so you know, there was a player on Falcons changed their mouse at Bucharest. There was no drama and they won the tournament. Weird that. Nobody got upset. Now maybe that player's too big to be criticised by, you know, the GOAT coach. But let me just tell you why this clip stood out for me is I know a bit about Boros behind the scenes because obviously being who I am and how I'm situated, I hear a lot. And as I've done less and less journalism and more hosting, I talk about it less. It doesn't seem appropriate. I'm put into a situation where I'm going to hear more and absorb more. But I'll say this. Boros is he needs an adult mentor. He needs to be looked after and nurtured. He's not, he's got things outside of the game, right, that aren't necessarily helping him. And sometimes you just have to be an adult. And having a fucking 2 minutes of fucking hate wrecking him, that won't have helped him. I can tell you that for free. And when you're a coach, you have to be able to meet people in different styles of communication, different situations. Sometimes you got to sit on your anger and you got to find a way to reach them and get what you want. Remember, they were still in the fucking tournament. Now, I'll add, the reason they were all so pissed off, and this is the part Reddit never wanted to get into, he'd missed practices, he'd done all sorts of fucked up, slept through a practice, slept through a scrim. It was all, everybody knew what was going on behind the scenes. They were at their fucking last rope, they were at the edge, they'd had enough. But they never wanted him in the first place. They never wanted him in the first place. And this is what you get. Now, for me, I don't know, I think behaviourally, if I'm a coach and the players have got things to say, I probably tell them, keep it to yourself, let me be the voice, and then I filter out some of the worst aspects of it. That was a struggle session. That ain't good. That ain't good coaching. But he knew he could get away with it. And as we say, fucking, the rest is history. So you had that. You didn't get what you were promised there. What else did we have? They go out. They spend all that money, didn't they? They spent all that money on getting that fucking Ents core. What did he say about them once they went? Oh, yeah, well, we always knew it was temporary. And look, it's interesting. HLTV describes their 2024 as disastrous. How does the GOAT coach have a disastrous year? He said, I think throughout the entire year, we've tried upgrading and changing the roster. The decision was already made in the spring. I'm not saying we were wasting time, but I'm not willing to meet and not be satisfied with the roster that I have. I wish it would have happened earlier, but it was simply not possible to get the players I want in. Oh, right, okay. Well, must be nice. Guess if I'm ever in a coaching role in any sport from now until the end of time. Oh, well, I just didn't have the play. I went to the board and I said, look, can I have fucking Dembele? Yeah. No, I can't because I'm Brentford. Well, I never wanted these players, so fuck it. I'm done. Right. Like, what is that? So baked into that statement is, I'll start trying and be a great coach when I've got a team I respect and want, and it's not this one. Whereas I believe a good coach could take a team that they didn't necessarily respect or have faith in or weren't good players, and he could get more out of them and make them overachieve. That would be something that a GOAT coach would do, in my opinion. Now, remember, I'm not saying if we just use trophies as the metric. It's interesting. A lot of people that say Zonic is the GOAT, they often in other areas don't use trophies and as the metric. They use others, it can be a bit more nebulous. But if we go just on trophies, sure, he's going to be hard to beat. But he did not cover himself in glory with Falcons. And so you immediately, if you're a football fan, would draw comparisons to Pepe Guardiola. A lot of people think Pepe Guardiola is the greatest football manager of all time. If you look at it contextually and how he inherited that fantastic Barcelona team simply by virtue of being there and having played at the team. And then obviously, he had the Bayern Munich lineup. I mean, it's Bayern Munich. Right? And also, he had a very good Bayern Munich lineup. And then he went to Man City, the wealthiest club in the world. You should be winning trophies. First time he's been put under pressure at City, he's arguing with fans in the street like a drunk. He's giving weird interviews. He's disappearing. He's going off with stress. Well, I don't know, man. If you want to be the GOAT, you got to live that shit 24/7. Alex Ferguson did. You know what I mean? Anyway, we didn't want this team, it was only temporary. Everybody knew that. Of course, that wasn't what you were saying when you got them. What else did he say? I mean, this is why I keep saying, let's not have Zonic do any more interviews moving forward, Falcons? But you can't stop putting a microphone in front of him. This is when they picked up Simple. The season has been horrible. Might as well go all in and see if we can get Sasha back to somewhat his former level. This is when, again, they dropped Son Pius, their statistically best player, for Simple. They ask him, is he coming to join you? He says, I'm not going to go into details. We're here right now and our focus is the RMR. think for me and the team, it's really important we qualify for the major. That's the only thing that can somewhat save our season. The GOAT coach begging to qualify for the major to save a season. I'd rather not. I haven't thought much about next year. I'd rather not comment on that. I just want to say, like, a guy like Simple is always someone you would consider to pick up long term. Simple played in this team for like a handful of games and said, nah, I'm done actually. Definitely could have gone there full time, by the way. Chose not to. And then you had this. This is his last answer about how he sets goals across all of his teams. And he says, we have a task given by Falcons. We want to become the best team in the world. Sometimes that doesn't work out. We don't have a young team. Let's be honest. And I think some of those players also know that some are here to be the first step of this vision by the team, while some will stay longer. As I said before, it's been a rough year. We've had a lot of talks to try to change a lot in the way we play, the way we prepare. But I think, to be completely honest, we've been lacking a superstar player for quite some time. A lot of the players, they know that next year might be different. And by being transparent and open about it with the players, it kind of helps them move on. They know there won't be any sudden surprises. So, also, right, you admit in that moment you need star players on the roster. You have to have stars to win things, apparently. All right? I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but that suggests that your system isn't necessarily one that can win trophies. I mean, I'll draw your attention to Mouse. Would you say they have stars? Torji, their best, their most improved player in 2025, their stadium player. Do you think of him as a star player? Jimmy, star. They only just added Spinks. I'm talking about the Shue lineup. He's talking about Nico. He's talking about Simple. He's talking about Ziwu. He's talking about Device. Mouse ain't got them things. They've done better than Falcons. All of their players are ex-academy players. Just saying. Then there was this. That he finally got the lineup that he wanted, supposedly. The one that they've just changed again. Want to remind you what he said. To look myself in the eye and stay motivated, I need a team I believe in. By the way, maybe the team needs a coach they believe in. One that isn't dining out on a dog shit major from 2023 and stuff from 2018. Seems reasonable. You'd say it about anyone else. You'd say it about the players. I need a team I believe in. Well, all right. And he said, I have it. And this was talking about the lineup that they've just changed again. The Heroic Core, Magisk, and Nico. So did you have it or didn't you? If you had it, why didn't you fight for Dexter? No, one more star. Right, so in other words, we judge Falcons starting now. Now we judge Falcons. Now we judge Zonic. We don't judge anything he did. 2024, we have to write that off, right? They were only the wealthiest team in the fucking world. They could have had any players. They just kept getting snubbed because no one... But starting now. We start now. This is when we judge Zonic, right? This is when we judge Falcon Zonic. It's like, I don't know, guys. This is fucking esports. This is CS2. This isn't even CSGO. He's won one trophy in CS2 with the wealthiest org in the fucking world, and it was Bucharest, where Vitality weren't there and Mouse weren't there. So we have to judge him now. Right then. Okay, they'll go to the major and they'll win, yeah? Semi-finals, bare minimum. So, okay, starting now. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how many excuses are being made for what's happened in Falcons. It's actually insane. You had this as well. Just to remind you, like take away the mic, guys. In modern CS, you can't build a team from scratch. I've literally watched them now build a team from scratch. So, can you or can't you? Your team is built from scratch at this point. It is a Theseus's ship. But I've watched teams like Gamer Legion and fucking Complexity and I don't know. Na'Vi built from scratch. It's like you can do it. Maybe you can't do it. Gamer Legion fucking schooled you in a series where you got 3 rounds in 2 maps with a team built from scratch. It's ridiculous. What a crazy thing to say. And then you go on to try and build a team from scratch. Not to mention just the fucking humorlessness Falcons are notorious for this shit. They're some of the biggest whiners behind the scenes about what players you can and can't have, who you can and can't interview, what you can and can't say. They complain about casters saying things. I think they got pissed off at one tournament because some caster mentioned they had like big salaries or money or business class flights or some form of decadence that they get that other orgs don't get. They complained about that. And then, of course, they complain about this, and it directly goes to Zonic. Because you're obviously not allowed to criticize him. Like, people said this clip, you all saw it, we talked about it when it happened.
I don't know, I just feel like last round was obviously a bit unlucky, but...
What?
Yeah.
Should I call something?
No, I'm just thinking.
That clip again.
I don't know. I just feel like last round was obviously a bit unlucky, but
What?
yeah.
Should I call something?
No, I'm just thinking.
Okay, so that's his timeout that he called, where he just pauses and is silent, and a player goes, "Do you want me to call something?" And he goes, No, I'm just thinking. If Taz did this, you would crucify him. If this clip was of Taz, it would be the top of Reddit demanding he was fired. No joke, you all know it's true. If Casada did this behind Bleed, say they got to a tournament, you'd be saying the same. Because you play favourites. While Blast got the title wrong, like, this is a silly title because that's not what was going on, right? This is a fair representation. Like, you only get a limited amount of time to communicate changes. Listen to how much silence is coming from the coach.
I don't know. I just feel like last round was obviously a bit unlucky.
Right. Also, I don't know.
I don't know. I just feel like last round was obviously a bit unlucky, but
What?
yeah.
Should I call?
The players are all looking confused. Like, every player right now is looking at him. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, that's every player looking at him. And they're going, what? Yeah, and as people in the chat have noticed, the VP coach is just yapping away. It's not his timeout. Like, but, you know, just blast things,
I don't know.
I guess.
I just feel like last round was obviously a bit unlucky, but
What?
yeah.
Should I call something?
No, I'm just thinking.
Now, I don't think there's anything wrong, by the way, with Blast showing that clip. You agree when you go to a studio, there's cameras everywhere. You're going to get filmed. You agree in a Blast tournament, they're going to be showing you timeouts, playing your comms. They got furious. They complained. Falcons filed complaint with Blast over Zonic timeout clip, and they said it forcibly lacks context. Here it is. We have submitted an official complaint to Blast Premier regarding this social post and it being put out during a broadcast. It forcibly lacks context by not showing the entire timeout, which they can't do because there was tactical elements discussed towards the end of it, for the sake of creating a bait tweet and noise and giving a false impression of the coach and players. The response of other coaches against this tweet says it all. Now, as I showed in a previous video, guess what? There was exactly one coach that replied to that and complained. You know who it was? It was Taz. A player who knows he would be on the chopping block if he did that. There was no other coach. There wasn't like coaches union turned up and were outraged by this. It was just a bad timeout. But we're not allowed to say that, apparently, because it's Zonic. And past success insulates him from present criticism. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, Zonic is a fraud. I want to make that abundantly clear. I don't believe that Falcons will have a 2025 that looks like a 2024. I think a lot's changed since then with them. I think a lot's changed in the scene and the circuit. But this is a results-driven business. This is a new iteration of Counter-Strike. And as I'm told, what you've done in the past doesn't count. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter you did all these great stories in the past. You're washed now. Doesn't matter what events you've hosted. You're irrelevant now. It's a business about being present, being relevant, being in the here and now, being current. Is Zonic doing that after a year of failure because he won Bucharest? No. It's ridiculous to say so. If you were to look, like so far, right, what we should do, take all the millions spent, and it's, like I said, it's getting on for about 10 million now, right, by their own numbers, apparently, by all the numbers reported that they haven't pushed back upon, not to mention salaries and God knows what else. We should, at the end of 2025, add up millions to, like, work out the math of how many millions it's cost to lift per trophy. And the thing is, if they only lift Bucharest in 2025, I don't want to hear how 8 million is valid. A regular on the Discord sent me this, which is funny. I do love a good Zonic meme. We've had plenty on the Discord. Instead of money ball, money bags. Danny the Bag Sorensen, money bags. I'm going to see the yellow baby flash young goat based on a lake of oil this fall. Thanks for that, Vince here. Appreciate it. But look, to wrap it up, I don't think he's a fraud. He won all those trophies legit. He was part of one of the greatest lineups any version of Counter-Strike has seen. He's been a great servant to the game. I used to watch Zonic play. I saw him play at DreamHack. I thought he was a great voice, great captain. He had a great aura about him. He's a nice guy too. He's shit in interviews. He needs to shut the fuck up because everything he says doesn't help. It just encourages the hate. It encourages critique. But he's obviously a competent coach. But he hasn't been with this lineup for some time. And you start to ask questions. You ask questions like, yeah, he didn't really win a lot in Vitality except that super easy fucking major. Oh, he did have an almost near generational talent in every position at Astralis. From IGL to entry fragger to AWPer to anchor to, Zipnik's support player. Yeah, the best in show. What he's done with Falcons ain't enough to convince me. And winning Bucharest ain't enough to convince me that he doesn't have to do more to convince me that his time ain't been and gone. The hot take to end the video. If you gave me an option right now, Richard, build an org and install a coach that will carry your org through to the future, who do you want, Zonic or Ash? I'd take Ash from Gamer Legion every time. That's that. Make of that what you will.